Namaste everyone, and welcome back to the Vedavati podcast. I'm Rodney.
And I'm Roshni, and we are your hosts for today. Thank you so much for joining us into this adventure.
So today we're going to talk about how geological changes have shaped the civilization of the Indian subcontinent. So from shifts to modern challenges, we will jump into the profound ways in which movements have really influenced human history and how we see the world today. So stay tuned as we uncover fascinating stories and insights.
Yeah, so geological changes have always played an important role in a civilization, because especially in the beginning when civilizations were very agricultural, the reason people chose to live in certain areas and form these centers and communities was because of some kind of geological aspect that drew towards them. And the Indian subcontinent has been a center of civilization for millennia, right? From ancient times to today, where India is a very thriving nation. So what has made the Indian subcontinent such a big center for a large amount of people, and what is kind of the very beginning of that India story?
So the beginning of this movement kind of started with the formation of the Himalayas. And this occurred because of a tectonic plate collision. And so this collision created a natural barrier, which influenced a lot of the climate in the area, and mainly the monsoon seasons. And so these same monsoons created the fertile plain, which became a very cradle of civilization for the Indus Valley, and they thrived on the agricultural surplus, which was found in this valley.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense, because that very early civilization was formed because of those fertile lands. And India, even today, remains a very agricultural power. But these ancient civilizations, like the Harappan civilizations, would also come to an end. So I think it's interesting to look at the reasons for that aspect as well. So I was looking into the study by Cambridge, and it actually found evidence that the summer monsoon abruptly became a lot weaker around 4,100 years ago in northwest India. And this is a pattern that's seen not just in India, but in multiple other civilizations when we look at those texts. There's been texts from, Mesopotamia where they talk about a similar occurrence. And this also coincides with the time that the Saraswati River seems to have stopped flowing altogether. And to kind of adapt to that, they tried to switch into drought-resistant millets, but those couldn't support large urban centers. It could only support more localized rural communities, which the Harappan civilization wasn't used to anymore. And this led to the group shifting into the Ganga area and the Narmada valleys. And this migration would lead to the rise of new cultures, new societies, and would kind of expand that Indian civilization to other parts of the subcontinent.
An additional geological change was the Deccan Plateau, and this was formed a very long time ago because of extensive volcanic activity, about 66 million years ago. And it created a vast region of basalt rock, and that created the fertile black soil, which is seen today in India. And this soil was very good for cotton and spices, and it was used by various groups like the Satavahanas and the Marathas for their own economic prosperity and to sell in the market as well.
Yeah, so that area became a huge part of production for spices and cotton because of the kind of climate and the geological factors made it a perfect fit for this, because it had those monsoons, the tropical climate, the rich soil, and that was what made India economically powerful, because way beyond colonization and invasion, India had always been an important trade partner for a lot of these ancient civilizations, and this was especially because of those natural resources that it had. But at the same time, it also made India a target for colonization. And, Britain viewed India as a prized possession to be won, and this was largely because of those geological factors. So we can talk a little bit more about how that kind of impacted India when the British kind of came into that picture.
So the British came largely for the spices, and so their rule created a lot more geological changes, such as deforestation, because they wanted to add more plantations, and the addition of these caused a lot of deforestation, which led to a lot of flooding in the plains. And so this flooding can be seen in Mumbai and Kolkata today as well, and it's more of a modern impact, and this was caused by the British.
Because a lot of these urban centers like Mumbai and Kolkata the original infrastructure was built by the British, and a lot of these waterways and all those sort of things. And because of this expansion, it led to kind of flooding happening in the area, and the way it was built, it had a lot of negative geological effects that can be felt to this day, and especially because of a lot of migration into that area. For example, in Rajasthan, it's become increasingly a desert area, and there's lots of water scarcity and forced migration, and that is forcing rural populations out of land and putting additional pressure onto these urban infrastructures.
An additional impact that can be seen today in India are the earthquakes, which are seen in the Himalayas. So the Himalayas are currently seismically active, and the recent activity has caused a lot of damage and a lot of long-term economic disruption to the groups and people living there today. They're experiencing a lot of interruptions in their daily lives as well as in their activities.
Mm-hmm. And so the geology of India has always played an important part. And today, in modern India, it has some positive effects in the sense that it allows India to be a place for a lot of agriculture, but it also has a lot of these negative effects that come from, the years of this urban infrastructure that has led to a lot of negative ecological changes. And you can kind of see from all of this that a civilization is shaped in a lot by the location that it grows in. Because of those geological changes and certain geological aspects, it plays a huge role in those communities and how those people adapt to it, including migration patterns and other such things. And especially in a civilization that is as rich and complicated and diverse as India, it's a great way to kind of get a deeper look into the sort of the day-to-day and different aspects of that civilization.
Yep, that's very true. So thank you guys for tuning in to the Vedavati podcast. We really hope you enjoyed this episode and gained a lot of valuable insight. So until next time, keep exploring and stay curious.
Thank you.
Thank you.